Thanks for the introduction. Hello everyone, I'm Yuxiang Yang from Tsinghua University. Today I will introduce one of our works titled ReDAN, an empirical study on remote DoS attacks against NAT networks. This is a collaborative work from Tsinghua University, George Mason University, and Southeast University. I will introduce our work from the following 6 aspects. First, let me introduce the stream model. The stream model, as shown in the right figure, consists of 5 types of hosts. The first is an arbitrary victim TCP server, which would be a replication, an SSH or FTP server, and it is providing TCP services. And the second one is a vulnerable NAT device, which could be a gateway in Wi-Fi networks, 4G or 5G networks, or IoT or cloud networks. And the third are several victim clients located behind the NAT networks, and they may access the victim server. And the fourth is the off-path attacker, who is from the internet, and it has the ability to for IP spoofing. And the attacker can also deploy a vantage point, such as an ATP server, which may be accessed by the client. In this stream model, we propose that the attacker can first identify whether the client visiting our vantage point is behind the NAT, and if it is, the attacker can then launch the TCP denial of service attacks to the clients and the victim servers. As for the background, first, NAT is a common technique which could map private IP addresses to public ones and can enable shared internet among devices. And NAT has many good points, such as saving public IP addresses or preventing direct access from the internet. The key to NAT's operation is the session mapping table. The NAT device will record the session of the endpoints, such as the IP addresses, the ports, and the states. However, in this work, we found that the real-world NAT devices always have the vulnerability that they lack enough sequence number validation of TCP receipt packets, enabling the attackers to manipulate the device NAT mapping states. Then I have to introduce the Path MTU Discovery mechanism, which is designed to prevent IP fragmentation at intermediate routers. Here is a simple workflow of PMTUD. First, when the host sends a TCP packet, it will set the DF bit in the IP header to 1, and the length of the TCP packet should not exceed the default MTU value of the host, which is 1500 for Ethernet. And if the router along the path finds that the size of the packet exceeds its default MTU value, let's say it's just 600, then it will discard the TCP packet as the DF bit has been set to 1. So, and the router will then issue an SMP fragmentation needed error message back to the host, and which will carry the MTU value of the router. So after the SMP packet passes the check of the host, then the host will update its path MTU value and reduce the size of the TCP packets. Then the router can forward the TCP packet without IP fragmentation. However, we find that the path MTU value of the host is actually a global value, that all types of packets, not only the TCP packets, but some UDP or IP SMP packets, all of them should not exceed the path MTU value after this. As for detailed attack procedure, the attack consists of 2 steps. The first step is to identify some vulnerable NAT devices. The goal of this step is to determine if a specific target host is behind the NAT device, or it is a separate host. We will use a side channel in the PMTUD mechanism. This page shows different cases when a separate host or a NAT client visits the attacker-controlled vantage points. First, after the host initiates a TCP connection to the vantage point, which could be deployed by the attacker, such as some URL-based advertisements. And the vantage point will craft an SMP error message to the host with a small value of MTU, such as 600, and the TCP packet, we assume that it's 1500. The MTU value is crafted to 600, and then the host will update the path MTU value, and then the TCP packet will be reduced. The size of the TCP packet will be reduced. Then the attacker can verify the change by sending another SMB pin packet to the host with a size of 1500. When the host is a separate host with directly has a public IP address, it will, as the path MTU value has been updated, it will respond with several IP fragments to the vantage points. However, if the client is behind the NAT device, as the pin packet can only arrive at the NAT device, so the NAT device will not forward the packet to the NAT client, and it will directly respond with an SMP reply packet with the same size of the pin packet. In this way, the attacker can differentiate the two cases and take those NAT clients as potential victim targets for the second step. In the second step, the attacker will try to conduct the DoS attacks to the clients and the victim TCP server. The goal is to terminate the TCP connections between the clients and the server. First, at the beginning, we assume that there would be some TCP connections from the victim client to the victim server, and the NAT device will maintain two NAT mappings of the connection. The off-path attacker from the internet actually cannot get enough information of the connection, such as the source port number, the sequence numbers. They are all randomized. The attacker cannot know them. However, we propose that the attacker can just send a lot of TCP reset packets carrying with the spoof source address of the server to the NAT device, and they will carry different destination port numbers, and the sequence number can just be arbitrary. If as the NAT device will not check the sequence number of the packet, so it just directly removes the NAT mapping, and then as the victim clients will check the sequence number, and it will find that the sequence number is not right, so it will discard the packet. And then the attacker will craft some forged data packet, TCP data packet to the victim server with the spoof source address of the NAT device, and it will also set a lot of different source ports, and the sequence will be also arbitrary. And the victim server will respond with some duplicate ACK packets with the exact sequence number to the data packet if the source port is correct. However, when the duplicate ACK packets arrive at the NAT device, as there is no NAT mapping anymore, it has been removed by the attacker, so the NAT device will respond with a reset packet, which the sequence number will be copied from the ACK packet, so the reset packet can just tear down the sockets at the victim server side. And later, when the client wants to communicate with the server, it wants to send some TCP packets as the socket has been turned down. So the server will just respond with a reset packet, and the reset packet will then tear down the socket at the victim client side. Thus, the connection has been terminated in this method. As for the empirical study, we have conducted end-to-end evaluations of the methods with different kinds of NAT devices and different kinds of NAT clients. First, we have verified that the PMTUD side channel can reliably identify the NAT clients, and it is more effective than JavaScript-based or timing-based methods. And we have verified the widespread vulnerability in 2 of the 6 native operating systems, including FreeBSD and some versions of Linux, and in 6 of the 8 router firmware, such as including OpenWRT, and 29 of the 30 commercial routers. They are all vulnerable to the NAT mapping manipulation attacks. And we have taken 2 case studies on SSH and FTP, and we show that the attacker can terminate the established TCP connections or prevent the victim client to visit the remote server with just a low traffic bandwidth. And we have also taken some real-world experiments. We had deployed 7 vantage points and to test the PMTUD method. We share the links to some voluntary users and to take part in the experiments in 11 months. And our method can successfully identify those NAT clients, and we also take some analysis for the failure cases. And we have also randomly selected 180 NAT networks, including some 4G, 5G networks, Wi-Fi networks, cloud networks, and we found that more than 92% of them are vulnerable to the TCP resetter attacks. As for disclosure and mitigation, we have reported the vulnerabilities to the affected manufacturers, and we have received acknowledgments from the FreeBSD community and OpenWRT, SSWRT router firmware, and 3 major Chinese ISPs, and 3 cloud providers, and 4 router vendors. And we have got 5 severe CMVD identifiers for this vulnerability. And we also propose two countermeasures to mitigate the attack. The first is to fix the side channel in PMTUD mechanism, and the second is to enforce more strict checks on TCP packets, TCP reset packets. As a conclusion, in this work, we have uncovered novel vulnerabilities and proposed methods to identify NAT devices and launch remote TCP denial of service attacks to them. And we have conducted extensive evaluations of the attack on various NAT implementations and real-world Wi-Fi networks and other networks. And we have responsibly disclosed the vulnerability to the affected vendors and proposed some corresponding countermeasures. That's all for the presentation. Thanks for your listening. I'm happy to take your questions.
Okay, thanks for speakers. So any questions from audience? Okay, good.
Hi there, Eric Pauly, Wisconsin-Madison. Thanks so much for the talk. I guess I just had a clarification question. So is this solely an exploit against NAT, or is it an exploit against the TCP connections from the host that happens to be forwardable through NAT?
The target of the attack is to terminate the clients behind NAT and the connections between the NATed clients to any targeted remote server. This is, yeah.
Gotcha. So if there's, if you have a host that's just publicly routable IP, the attack also works, right? It's just that it also works through NAT.
Yes, yeah.
Awesome, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, so I have a question. So looks like you just launched this attack, just target a specific client.
No. The attack.
So it's possible to launch maybe large-scale attacks, DDoS attacks. So maybe target multiple devices. Yeah.
Yeah, the attack cannot target choose any targeted clients. It can choose randomly from the internet for potential targets.
Any other questions?
Hi. Kashyap Timaraju from TU Berlin. I was wondering if this could be potentially mitigated at the routing level. So if the ISP or something does like reverse, where they check if their source IP is spoofed and don't allow those kind of packets to pass, could that be fixed? Could that be used as a fix?
Yes, the assumption of the attack is that the attacker should have the ability to spoof IP spoofing. It can send any package with a spoof source address of others. If the ISP has the ability to detect those forged packets, then the attack will not happen. Thank you.
Last question. Yeah.
Lars Eckert, Mozilla. The reset attack, that's the same one that was used against BGP like decades ago, right? Where you basically flood a TCP connection with spoofed resets and hope that some of them pass the checks. Did I get that correct?
Sorry, I didn't catch your question.
So a long time ago, like in the 90s, I'm old, right? People were killing BGP sessions, which are carried over TCP by flooding the routers with spoofed resets. And some of them would make it through those checks that the routers had. And the solution was that we did TCP MD5 and then TCP AO, basically to authenticate the packets. But that never got deployed anywhere else. So I wonder if there's this mitigation. The bottom one doesn't really seem like a mitigation because you can still craft reset packets that will make it through these checks because some of the resets will always be valid. You can only make it a little bit harder for the attacker, right?
Yeah, it's difficult for you mean the BGP connections?
No, so the more strict checks are good, but they're not a mitigation because you will always have some resets that are valid based on the TCP state, and those can be spoofed. Okay, maybe let's take it offline. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. We can
Thank
take
you.
it
Let's
offline.
discuss maybe offline. Thank you.
Thank you.
Speak good.